All right. As Chad said, my name is Taylor. I am the brand new Schlafly rep for St. Louis. The guy before me kind of wore a hat like this. His name was Nick Vickery. I'm sure you guys knew him well. So I'd like to think I'm just as beautiful and just as cool as Nick is. So hopefully I can live up to the expectations. But Nick was a great guy for Schlafly. You can see him at Major Brands now. He controls all of craft beer at Major Brands. And I'm very happy for Nick at Major Brands. And I'm happy that he left so I could have this job. Does anyone know? So, yeah, as Chad touched on, I am new to the St. Louis brewery. I began back in February. Before that, I was working at a AB distributorship out in St. Charles, Missouri. So, kind of a different life for me. I went from selling that golden fuzzy bubble stuff to wonderful St. Louis craft beer, and I couldn't be more excited to be selling craft beer in St. Louis. And I couldn't be more excited to be working for the oldest brewery that is still owned locally owned in St. Louis, in Missouri. So I am very happy for that and couldn't be at a better company. Just going to go over a little history of Schlafly, even though I'm sure most of you know next to almost everything. I'm just hopefully have some fun stories for you, some new information. I'm going to share about some new stuff coming up. We have some exciting things going on at the brewery, and then we can get to the important part, tasting some delicious beer, some things you've had before, some new things, and something that's not even released yet, so something fun. So Schlafly was founded in 1992 on December 23rd. Tom Schlafly was a lawyer in St. Louis, and his partner at the time, Charles Kottman, said, "My son really loves brewing." And Dan got it with Tom, and they decided they were going to found a brewery in St. Louis, be the first one. The only problem is there were some laws that couldn't really open a brewery, so the first cidery in Missouri opened under the name St. Louis Brewery. So technically, due to AB laws, we could not be a brewery in St. Louis. So we opened as a cidery, and then Tom, being the lawyer he is, changed the laws in the state of Missouri to become what we are today, the largest locally owned brewery in Missouri. So let's be happy for Tom, because there's so many great breweries in St. Louis now. The beer scene in St. Louis is blown up. There's countless breweries, it seems like, each day, and we can all owe it to Tom Schlafly. Tom opened up the floodgates for Missouri, and let's just be very, very grateful for Tom, because, like I said, the St. Louis beer scene could not be better right now. So the first beer Schlafly brewed was the wonderful Schlafly Pale Ale. That came from Dan, and from there we started going from Pale Ale to Oat Stout, and we just started slowly but surely building up to where we are today with over, 86 styles a year total? I believe it's 86 styles a year that get produced throughout the brewery walls. The first building we bought, has anyone seen Escape from New York, the wonderfully acted Kurt Russell movie? Anyone? I mean, it's got to win Academy Awards for greatest movie of all time. Schlafly made its first appearance in that movie. If you recall, when Snake's running by after the president's plane crashes in beautiful rundown parts of St. Louis at the time, you could see the Schlafly tap room at the time. So that's our claim to fame. If you look on IMDb, the Schlafly tap room has a credit in Escape from New York. So that's a fun fact to check out. But like I said, I'm sure you guys know a lot of the stories about Schlafly in St. Louis, so I kind of want to touch on a lot of the new things going on that people might not know about right now. The company is going through massive changes. It's kind of just a revolving door right now, and it's some really fun, great changes, honestly, for the better. So a couple of years ago, Dan and Tom sold a partial portion of the company to a Sage Investment Group to help build our company, make us a little bigger, be able to afford and do new things, grow to what we need to be. And then from there, Dan was the CEO of the company, and Dan was a great CEO. But Dan really loved to focus on the hops, buying the malts. He loved all the science behind it, just being a giant nerd and having a great time smelling the beers, making the beers. That's what Dan loved. And Dan decided that being the CEO is a little stressful in the beer industry. He's got to deal with a lot of stuff that he really probably didn't want to deal with. So Dan brought in a man by the name of James Pendergraph. James is our current CEO at Schlafly. He started back, was it March, February? February. So he started in February, the same month I started at the brewery. And James has come in and made a lot of changes to the brewery. At the time, we were all scratch our head, but then we were like, wow, these actually are working out great. James comes from a background. He worked over at InBev before it was AB InBev. From there, James went on to run the North American breweries. So that's Magic Hat, Pyramid, Genesee, brands such as that under the North American Breweries Association. And that James brought his expertise into the brewery and has kind of put a new light on things and new products. For the first time, we are producing new products in a long time. I believe Tippa was our last new beer. So Tasmanian IPA didn't come in until 2012. And now you're seeing new beers coming out, new programs coming out. Like you're going to taste a little bit later, White Lager is our first new beer. It's going to be a seasonal, and it's we're very excited from that. And then next to White Lager is coming the new Grapefruit IPA, which maybe you might hear about in a little bit. From there, there's more seasonals coming. We're kicking out a new seasonal in April that we're very excited about. Did anyone get a chance to try King Kaya when it was out this year in the 750 bottle? Did everyone like it? Thoughts? Okay, you might see it again. And then this fall, we're adding another new beer to our seasonal. So when you're having this white lager and then you go to summer lager, we're going to add another lager in there, just kind of make it a loop of lagers to go around for the year. So not only are we going to have seasonals, we're going to have a lager loop where you can have a different lager any time of the year, just kind of trying to get the introductory craft drinker into just liking craft beer and whatever we can do. It's just a nice, crisp, refreshing lager, so we're very excited about that and just getting more people to enjoy the great St. Louis beers and just hopefully expanding the beer scene while more great breweries come in. Hopefully just reminding people that Schlafly makes new, fresh products and just staying relevant in the market. This white lager? Okay. So yeah, that's some of the fun stuff going on, but I'll talk about some of the beers now for you. So as I mentioned, the white lager, if you look at it, it's a nice hazy zwickel style beer. What that means is going to be unfiltered lager, so sort of like a Hefeweizen, but then it's going to have a real crisp, clean, refreshing finish. So it's going to finish like a lager, have the haziness of a Hefeweizen. You're going to notice nice citrus notes throughout the beer. That comes from the orange peel that we threw in the mash. In this beer, like I said, when Dan stepped down from CEO, Dan started going out and experimenting with new hops and trying to find new ways to put new things into beers. In this beer comes the first hop that Dan discovered while he was in his new job title. So in this is the Blanc, Hallertau Blanc, which is a German hop that Dan found while just going throughout Germany, shoving his nose in hops. And he fell in love with this Hallertau Blanc. And this is the first beer that we've used to feature the Hallertau Blanc, and that's also going to give you a nice, clean, refreshing flavor with a lot of citrusness added in. White lager, for fun fact, at Hop in the City. Has anyone attended Hop in the City before, our beer festival? It's a real fun beer festival where we feature every beer we made throughout the year out at the tap room. White lager actually was the very first keg to blow, which was before we even told anyone that we were releasing a brand new beer. So that already ended and made us very happy going into the season saying, all right, we have a beer that people can really drink. So white lager is going to come in rather low ABV, real sessionable. It allows you to have more than one pint because nowadays you're getting real high ABV, real thick beers, which don't get me wrong, I drink them, I love them. But sometimes I just want to come in, have 4 or 5 pints, and be happy and good to drive home. I can't really do that after having 9 Imperial Stouts. So white lager is the great beer for that. It's just enjoyable. It's going to be good for the introductory drinker. Actually, this past Thanksgiving, my 93-year-old grandmother, who has claimed that she hates beer and will only drink scotch and wine, great combo. I sat her down, all right, Grandma, well, I'm cutting you off from the scotch for the night. You got to drink a beer now. So I gave her a white lager, and she was nothing but compliments, which I was very happy to hear. So it goes from 95 to 21-year-olds can enjoy a nice white lager.
How many people are having this beer for the first time? How many people?
Perfect.
80% of the class, probably.
And get the stamp of approval so far? Perfect, yeah. Like I said, it's great, nice, and sessionable. You can drink it for the entire night and be fine. And I am just couldn't be more excited for this release. It's going very well in the St. Louis market. We started, it was released in November, first week in November, and since then the sales have kind of flooded like crazy, and I could not be more excited, and thanks to Chad, it was on here fairly recently, so I'm happy to have white lager on tap here at Cicero's. Pardon me. Does anyone have any questions about the white lager that I can answer for you? Baseball season starts in April, which unfortunately means that's not possible for white lager. But if we go to the playoffs, yeah, you can see it in Busch Stadium. So if the Cardinals keep winning, this beer will be in Busch Stadium. And if you were at the soccer game, this beer would have been at the soccer game. So if anyone was at that soccer game, you would have been able to get it at Busch Stadium for the first time. Well, yeah, true. Valid point. But they won't lose. They're going to give us this beer for a long time. You got to be optimistic. Any other questions about white lager? No, we have Jake. Can you refresh?
Dan didn't quite specify what he wanted. He didn't say pellets or whole cone, and we ended up with a whole bunch of whole cone hops in the brewery. So this year, we're going to be 100% whole cone hops.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to introduce. This is Jake Flick. You guys may have recognized him. He was over at Summit Distributing before. He was the craft beer guy, so you might recognize his face. He doesn't quite have the afro anymore, but he's been in the craft beer industry for a while, and he's been over at Schlafly now with us. And this is Steve Lineberry. He's also over at deals with the whole southern states portion, so he has Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. And we all are very happy to be on the Schlafly team. And I'd like to say there's good things going on in St. Louis right now. But I'm going to go back to a little bit of what's going on at Schlafly. I was mentioning all the new beers, but we also have a lot of new stuff going on. Got a lot of great press. We have a lot of new things going on. This year, we're going to take Burns Night, which has anyone been to Burns Night at the brewery in January? We're going to take Burns Night and not only do it in the tap room, we're still going to do the great giant party at the tap room. We're going to spread it out throughout the market and try to go get it closer to your neighborhoods. For the folks that can't make it down the tap room, we want everyone to be able to enjoy a nice Burns Night. So we're going to go into the local institutions and have our own individual Burns Nights that lead up to the main Burns Night in January. On top of that, we are going to be doing a lot bigger Earth Day this year. Any package Schlafly you buy during Earth Day is going to have some seed paper. When you put that seed paper down, you can grow flowers in your garden on Schlafly. So if you want to get your girlfriend some flowers, buy a 6-pack, grow those flowers, and boom, you have flowers for your girlfriend or your wife. Oh, grow hop. That's a good idea. We didn't think about that. Burns Night's only at the tap room and then throughout the area. But we like to do it at the tap room because it's got that old pub feel, rustic. Tom can put his kilt on, jump on the bar, and still read his cheesy, awesome poem that he does every year. Again. I have not been. Yes, it will be. I'll say this will be my first Burns Night working, so I couldn't be more excited to do it. But yeah, that does sound delicious. Oatmeal stout ice cream. I'm excited for it now. So our next beer we're going to be drinking tonight is the Schlafly Kolsch. People have had Kolsch before, show of hands. The entire room, all right. That's what I like to see. Does anyone know what accolades the Kolsch got this year? Does anyone fall in the press? We did. That was very exciting, and we took full advantage of that. Washington, D.C. is actually one of our very large markets, and the people in Washington, D.C. just cannot get enough Schlafly, so it's great to see so much St. Louis love out in D.C., and it was strictly the D.C. folks who voted Schlafly Kolsch the best beer, the individual people, not the beer critics, that it's the best beer in the United States, so we are in great company. There were some great beers in there, Boulevard Tank 7, Deschutes Fresh Squeeze, like there was some great beer. Dale's Pale Ale was in there. There were some great beers in that competition, and we are very proud to have come away with that. White lager. Yeah, it's a seasonal, so it's been available. It came out November 1st, and it'll be here until opening day. And then opening day, summer lager goes in, which is kind of a fun little play. Well, we kind of wanted to change it away from the classic winter warmer. We wanted to have something light and refreshing because you're going to have so many high ABV beers. So back to Schlafly Kolsch. It's going to be a nice, light, crisp, refreshing Kolsch style. Does anyone know why you have to call it Kolsch style beer? And that is correct. And one thing that we like to brag about, we are the only North American brewery that has the yeast from an actual German brewery. Our founder, Tom Schlafly, met this lovely lady out in Cologne, Germany. And one of his wedding presents was the yeast from the Doffel brewery out in Cologne. Or Cologne. But yeah, so as a wedding present, most people get like toasters, knife sets, sheets. Tom got yeast. So that is how we got our yeast for our Kolsch. As you look at it, it's going to be a nice, clear, classic Kolsch. And this is another light one where it's just very drinkable. Great for introductory craft beer drinkers. It's a great palate cleanser for the people who are very sophisticated beers. It's very true to style for a Kolsch. And in the market now, I'm currently seeing the Kolsch style kind of blow up. And like sessionable is a huge thing right now. Everyone loves the great high ABV beers. And now you're seeing every brewery wants to have sessionable as well. And sessionable is a great trend going on. There's so many great breweries making sessionable beers right now. It just seems like low ABV looks like the new trend coming. As much as I love the barrel aging or the super high ABV, that takes a long time. You cannot produce near as much of it. And with these low ABV beers, it's a lot easier. You can put more of it out. It's real quality, and it's just very good trend to see in the United States. Because also, barrels are hard to get your hands on sometimes, and you can't do near as much barrel aging right now. So hopefully this trend continues, and I know it'll make all of us beer salesmen in the room a lot happier if the sessionable trend keeps going strong. But Kolsch does anyone know how Kolsch started? It has not been a year-round beer it just recently started. Does anyone know what it was beforehand? Does anyone remember when, go ahead. It was the same season. So it was our summer seasonal before summer lager was introduced. So Kolsch actually used to be a summer seasonal, but the demand for the beer just kept getting bigger and bigger. Everyone just could not get enough Kolsch. And we just decided, you know what, if people are going to drink this much of it, we're going to make a new summer seasonal and make Kolsch year-round because we needed something light and refreshing that everyone could drink. Schlafly Pale Ale was always our low ABV option. We wanted to give everyone a new low ABV option that would just be crisp, clean, refreshing, something wonderful for people to drink. And hopefully, I think it's come for the best. Is currently Schlafly is number 2 selling beer. I don't know if anyone knew that, but after Pale Ale, Kolsch is our number 2 seller, which is a fun little factoid. Does anyone have any questions on Kolsch? No questions on Kolsch. All right. Anyone have any questions on the white lager that we had previously talked about? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut people off because I know there are more questions on that, but yes.
How would you describe the style of Kolsch?
So Kolsch is gonna kind of a combo between an ale and a lager, which it is technically an ale, but they cold ferment it, and it's got like a lager yeast, but it's just gonna be it's an ale that's brewed like a lager. I guess is the best way of easily putting it without getting all scientific. Since I'm not a brewer, I don't know the science behind it as much. I just know that much. Does anyone else? Jake, do you have anything on Kolsch that you want to add in?
No, not really. It's light, crisp, and refreshing, man.
Yeah. Yeah, drink the hell out of it. I personally have not been over to Cologne. Maybe can you tell my boss that I need to go do some market research over there? And me specifically, no one else. But we did. Steve, you were at a beer festival recently down in Tennessee, was it?
That was in Arkansas, actually, down in
Oh.
Little Rock, and there was some folks over there from both. German guys were not super pumped about that. So we looked really good. They were a little sour about it. Yeah. So it is nice to see people from that side of the pond enjoying the style.
Anyone else have any questions? Move on to pale ale here in a second. All right, well, give me a second. We'll be on to pale ale here. Yeah. Someone's got a pint of each.
Yeah. In the middle of the summer, would you rather drink white lager or the Kolsch? How many people? And how many people would rather have the Kolsch?
So half and half. I mean, that's what we want to see.
Make it year round.
Make white lager year round. Thank you very much. Don't thank me, thank the brewers. I'm just the annoying guy who goes and annoys bar owners and tells them, hey, put my product on, and please put my product on. All right. I think a few of you may have heard of this type of beer, or this beer before. It's been around St. Louis for a while, the Schlafly Pale Ale. Back in 1991, when the brewery was started, people didn't really know that we were making actual beer styles. When you went to a bar and saw that Schlafly or Shitfly or whatever people used to pronounce it, when they would see that tap handle in a bar, they'd go, I'll just have a Schlafly. They would call it a Schlafly. They didn't know what style of beer it was. They just knew it was something different than those golden fizzy bubbles, and it was something delicious and something they could enjoy. Well, that beer happened to be an English pale ale by the name of Schlafly Pale Ale. Schlafly Pale is still to this day our number one seller. It is our flagship beer. It is what we live and die by. We are very, very proud of our Schlafly Pale Ale. And now it seems today, in today's times, that people are kind of in an identity crisis when they see pale ale in the box. Because there's so many different types of pale ales out there now. And I can tell you there's main differences between, because we have the American Pale Ale and the Schlafly Pale Ale, which kind of gets a little bit of an identity crisis. So I just kind of want to clear up the difference between an American Pale Ale, an English Pale Ale, and kind of what to look for when you're in the stores. Because a lot of times breweries will just call it a Pale Ale on their taps because you don't want to put American Pale Ale on the tap. It'll be too much lettering, or to call it an APA, or you don't want to say English Pale Ale, there's too much going on the tap. So an English Pale Ale is going to be real malt forward. You're not going to make it come off as super hoppy. It's just something that can be enjoyed. It's going to be darker in color. Something that can, like I said, it's malt focused. It's not going to be a hop bomb. Because I can tell you, my dad got scared off when I told him it was a pale ale when I handed it to him the first time. And I'm like, no, Dad, it's not going to be a hop bomb. It's actually very little hops at all. It's rather low IBU. I believe it's 30 for the Schlafly Pale Ale. 25 for pale ale. Okay, thank you, ma'am. So yeah, you're not going to be real bitter. It's just going to be a malt backbone. That's what the English style is. American Pale Ale is going to give you those nice American hops. And it's going to be just a hop bomb. You're going to get those nice Cascade, the nice Amarillos, just the real earthy tones in an American Pale Ale, which there are many great examples of American Pale Ales out there now. I like to think our APA is one of them. But an English Pale Ale is going to be real malt-focused. How the Pale Ale came to be is our co-founder, Dan Kottman, you're going to hear that name a million times, I'm sorry. Just bear with me. Dan used to work over at the Young's Brewery over in England. So if anyone thinks this tastes familiar to Young's Pale Ale, there's a little bit of a reason for it. Dan was brewing over at Young's before, and he loved the Young's Pale Ale so much that he brought the recipe back with him, and he kind of based our Pale Ale off of Young's Pale Ale over in England. So we owe Young's a big toast because that started the St. Louis craft beer revolution, because our Schlafly Pale Ale is based off of Young's Pale Ale. So that is kind of a fun story with Dan. And to this day, like I said, we brew more of it than we ever have before. Steve, or Jake, do you have a number on barrels that we do per Pale Ale for a year? Yeah, that I know we're doing more, like a majority, I think like 25% of all of our beer going out is Schlafly Pale Ale, which is kind of astronomical as we grow, that we're still being able to produce our flagship, and we're not letting our flagship die. Because as you go, people kind of want the newest, best, greatest thing. Well, this beer is 24 years old, and it's still kicking and still doing very well in the market, and we couldn't be happier for Schlafly Pale Ale. Does anyone have any questions on Pale Ale? The recipe has not changed. It's the same recipe from 1991. So it's keep going strong, and it's still producing great liquid. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Oh, Jake, do you know the hops that go in it other than... I know it's the Golding, but we had one other hop other than Golding in there. Then it's just East Kent Golding. I thought it was two. Yeah. Because I know they throw different hop additions, but... Does anyone else have any Pale Ale questions? So what? How long did they brew Pale Ale before other beers were brewed? I know Oat Stout was around the exact same time as Pale, actually. Yeah, Pale and Oat Stout came together because Oat Stout's also a recipe from Young's. So Dan brought two great English styles to be real English focused. Well, we didn't use... It's not... So yeah, if anyone wants to have a nice 1991 aged Young's Pale Ale, we're your guys to... I'm sure it tastes great right now with 24 years of age. That's older than me, so... That's an old bottle of beer. Does anyone else have any questions about Pale Ale?
So before the next one, since you're the new guy
Yeah.
at Schlafly, what's the best word in the brewery that you're willing to tell class?
Ooh, there's some good ones. I'm gonna go ahead and censor this one down a little bit. Well, it's not about Steven, thankfully, but there are some funny ones about Steven. But I'm gonna censor this as best as I can. Our old brewmaster, James Ottolini, he went from being the dish boy back in the back to reading about science to going to Wash U grad school to becoming the brewmaster at Schlafly. He actually just recently left to go join Brewworks, which is building out in Chesterfield. He's going to run all of Brewworks in St. Louis, so we're very excited for Otto. But Otto liked to be innovative, and he also was very, very all-natural and liked all-natural herbs. And well, it might be legal to buy some of those in Colorado. Jen can actually answer that question for it. But one day, Otto decided he's just going to go hang out in the middle of Forest Park and just enjoy the nature out there and just kind of have some fun in Forest Park. And then Otto found this persimmon tree in the middle of Forest Park, where Otto, in his mindset, decided he's just going to start shaking the hell out of this tree. So Otto lays a tarp down, shakes the hell out of this tree. Persimmons start falling down everywhere. And he takes these persimmons, and he got the yeast off of the persimmons in the lab, took the yeast, and then created this wild culture that he decided, I don't know what to do with this. This was kind of before sour beers kind of took off. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this, but I want to get this culture. From there, the culture got bigger, and we started messing around with it. And then finally, we put it in, this culture now is called Prudence in the brewery. And it's our sour base that we use for any sour beer we've ever done at Hop in the City or in the Ibex series. So Otto, on his random tree-shaking adventure in the middle of Forest Park, led to, did anyone get a chance to try the 11th Labor, our latest Ibex beer? That is what led to the Ibex, was Otto shaking a tree to get a random yeast culture, which has led to our sour program at Schlafly growing to the point where we went from extremely small to only like a couple barrels to now we hope to be able to get it out into the market more so than just grocery and like 2 or 3 barrels here or there. We hope to be able to get to the point where we can get it into all of our favorite local institutions and have a great beer, and we can all owe that to Otto shaking the tree. So that's my favorite story from Schlafly. I'm sure there's some other good ones. Jake, do you have a funny one? Well, yeah. That's my personal favorite. That one's goofy and got a good little history for the brewery. And then are we on to coffee now? Okay. So the coffee stout, without looking at the label for anyone who hasn't already cheated, does anyone know whose coffee we use? Yes, ma'am. Who is also a local company, so it's a true great local beer because it's 100% local. It's got local coffee and a local brewery's making it. I don't know if anyone actively reads Paste magazine religiously, but anyone see what Paste magazine put us as this year for coffee stout? Yes. You're doing all your research. You know all these answers. Jeez. Get this man a T-shirt. Yeah. Get this man a T-shirt. Yeah. Find me afterwards. I'll get you a shirt. You're answering all my questions. Yeah. Do you want to start working the brewery? Actually, thank you very much. So yeah, just a random question. How many people have drank this beer before 8 a.m.? Oh, come on. You're all guilty of it. Okay. And of those who have never tasted it, are you not stout fans, or is it just your first time experimenting with it? Okay. So I like to think of this beer as the perfect morning beer, where it's great where I had a long Friday, I wake up Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I go to brunch, and you know what? I need a beer, and I want something tasty, but I need my morning coffee. Well, this is Schlafly Coffee Stout. Schlafly Coffee Stout is your perfect, just anytime it's a low ABV for a stout, is going to be refreshing. It's not going to be real heavy on the palate. And it also has so much coffee in the back that it'll perk you up a little bit. There is 1 cup of coffee per 12-ounce bottle. 1 cup of coffee per 12-ounce bottle on a coffee stout. So if you're going out at night and you're going to drink a bunch of beers, you might be a little hyped up after you have too many coffee stouts, but hey, it's worth it. So does anyone know what the base beer of Schlafly Coffee Stout is? It is. It's based off the oatmeal stout. We threw a little less hops in there, so it's a lower IBU, but it is basically the oatmeal stout where they throw just gallons and gallons of Caldi's coffee. What we use is a cold toddy. It's a French roast. And what cold toddy is it's just naturally just pressed down, just straight coffee juice, no water at all. Throw that in the beer, and that is how we get all the coffee. So when you make your morning coffee, you throw water in the coffee filter, and you get your cup of coffee. Instead of water, we use beer. So that's a great alternative, and it gives you your cup of coffee, and it gives you a great, tasty beer. If you want to put it in a French press, you could. I don't think it would be as delicious, but you can try that. Put it in a French press, take a stout, put it in a French press, and you can play around with some coffees, and you can make yourself some great coffee stouts if you use a French press. So, Christmas gift ideas if anyone wants to know. Because oatmeal stouts are available year-round. Coffee stout's just a seasonal. So, coffee stout will go away in February. I know. Oh, I'm sorry. The best part of waking up is Schlafly coffee in your cup, right? I'll trademark that. That's going on the back of our T-shirts. But, yeah, our oatmeal stout is the base beer for coffee stout, which, has anyone recently read what we've got written about for oatmeal stout? Where's my media man? You not see that one? The best Midwest stout, under 6%, was Schlafly Oatmeal Stout. So it's good to see our stouts getting a lot of recognition. We've worked really hard on our stouts, and I'm happy to see, like I said, all this recognition with all the stouts coming into the market. It's great that people are still noticing our great beers. Does anyone have any questions about coffee stout? Okay. We do not distribute in Texas, which is why Steve moved from Texas up to Missouri. So he loves Schlafly beer so much that he came from Texas. But unfortunately, we do not. But we are available Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee. I don't know. I think as far south as we go is Mississippi. And Steve can answer exactly how far south. Yes. Northern Kentucky, we're in there. Oh, perfect. At a bar in Newport or buy from a grocery store? Glad to see our Kentucky reps doing a very good job out there. It's a French roast. I don't know exactly which specific one. I just know we say French roast. They don't tell the sales guys the secrets. They know sales guys just go and talk and tell it to everyone. So we kind of keep that hidden in secret, like the 23 flavors of KFC chicken. So, or 23 spices or whatever it is. It's just the Kent Golding from the oatmeal stout. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was not our idea.
So I'm curious, and I don't know if you can really answer this question, but since everybody in this room, or most people in this room, are kind of familiar with at least the stuff that we taste and see, they're pretty familiar with most of it.
Before I say anything about mystery beer, can anyone tell me what it tastes like, smells like, what they think it may be? Real strong grapefruit. Why is that? Real hoppy like an IPA maybe, and you get a lot of grapefruit out of it? God, I cannot figure out why you're getting those flavors. So, in a couple weeks, you'll be seeing the first new year-round Schlafly has ever produced since the latest year-round was Kolsch. So this is the first year-round since Kolsch to be added into the market. You are drinking Schlafly's new Grapefruit IPA. Please do not tweet or talk about this on social media. Just take a sip and say you enjoy it. If you tweet about it, Chad will have a new rep. No. So yeah, tweet about it. No. Say what? Yeah, so this is actually the taproom version. This is not the version going to market. The version going to market is not available. It's not ready yet, so that's why I couldn't get a keg out here for you tonight. They play around to try to guarantee the batches are proper, just throwing in different hops, more grapefruit puree, just kind of figuring out the perfect before we release for the year-round, because we're making a big jump by committing it to being a year-round beer. So it's going to be very, very similar to what the product is going in the bottle, but this is taproom's version. So the product coming out is going to come out at 5% alcohol. This one at taproom was 5.2 today. So it's just different batches. We're trying to figure out what's going on, but it's the same base beer. And it is the first grapefruit IPA being produced in the U.S. that is used by all natural grapefruit puree. No artificial flavoring, no artificial anything, all natural grapefruit puree. So we're very proud of that. Yes? So there's actually two answers to that. There's two things that are blowing up right now. One, Schlafly hasn't had a year-round IPA. We have the year-round IPA can, but it never really took off to how we wanted it. So we wanted a year-round IPA for everyone because APA wasn't an IPA, is an APA, what is it? So that was not really a year-round IPA. And we didn't have anything super hoppy to offer people year-round, other than we have TIPA and AIPA all year-round, but those only go 4 months, 4 months, 4 months with our IPA series. So you can't get the same consistent beer, and we wanted a consistent IPA to hit market. And then also, grapefruit's just a real hot flavor. We see that as the next big trend in the beer industry. There's lots of grapefruit going around, and grapefruit IPA just seemed like a great chance for us. And we had a great contract with a local fruit distributor out in Oregon who was able to do this puree and make us the first all-natural grapefruit IPA. So we're taking the grapefruit IPA, putting our fun, great local stamp on it, and hopefully it's something that you guys can drink the hell out of, support in the market when you see it out there. We're going to market very soon. Any other final questions before Chad kicks me off here?